Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Learn with Jason. Today on the show, we are going to be tackling something that I think most of us try not to think about because it's hard. And, as much as we prefer not to deal with hard things, sometimes we just don't have a choice because that's what jobs are most of the time. And so I'm bringing in support today, and we're going to be learning how to do hard things with a little help from my friend Lazar. How you doing?
Hey friends, how's it going?
I am so excited to have you here, and I am very excited to dig into this topic. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about you. So for folks who are not familiar with you and your work, can you give us a bit of a background on yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, my name is Lazar Nikolov. I'm a developer advocate at Sentry. And yeah, I like to fix hard problems. That's a good intro. I like to fix hard problems. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it truly is like a deep part of this profession. I think is getting into some just very tangled knots, almost Gordian knots, if you're into that sort of thing. But so what I want to talk about is how we get into debugging really complex apps, because I think for me at least, a lot of my experience coming up is that we talked about debugging, but we talked about it from the standpoint of fairly concise functions. You would get a snippet of code and it was like, okay, find the bug in this function, right? And that starts out hard. Like when we're new to coding, that is already a very challenging thing to do. But then we start to build bigger and bigger things. And over time, we go from having one function to having, a dozen or more. Then we go from having like a function in a repo to having multiple repos. And those are all projects that depend on each other. Maybe we get into microservices or like cross-team stuff. And suddenly when we're debugging, it's not just debugging the code in front of us. It's debugging everything that goes on throughout this app. There's a front end that's talking to a back end that's talking to a service or a third party. And all of those things might have an issue. And if we change something in one of those services, it could have cascading effects that would affect every other piece in this chain. And it's our job to learn how to understand these very complex systems and not break things inadvertently. When I fix one problem over here, I don't want to create a new problem over there. So how do we do it? What's fix us, please, in 50 words or less.
Yeah, well, I'm going to break that rule. But there are tools, right? So when we start learning programming and the concepts of writing code, there's like a huge learning curve. But then we get into debugging. Then we have like log messages, console.log, all those kind of things. That's pretty hard as well. But then we got like debugger debugging, like line by line, evaluating expressions, etc. That's still a learning curve as well. But this is all, we haven't even gotten out of our development environments. This is all on your personal machine, debugging and local hosts. It's hard, but it's still nothing in comparison to debugging issues that are in production across various services. You have databases, you have caches, you have different languages. Your front end is JavaScript, your back end might be in Python, in Django. I don't know. That's why we have tools like Sentry. We're going
Right.
to look at Sentry and how, we can use those tools aside from just like console logging and just like looking at log messages. How we can use those to debug more complex operation flows across multiple services, etc., etc.
And chat, I want to hear from y'all. So I personally, I am still more or less a console log debugger. I have used the actual debugger, but I don't in practice. And so you tell me, what's your usual debugging practice? How are you console log? Do you use debuggers? Do you use tools? What tools do you use? I want to hear about it. Put it in the chat. So Lazar, let's talk a little bit about how does any of this stuff start to make sense when you start adding tools? Because as a self-confessed console log debugger, the way that I've tended to solve these problems is that I have to basically drop a marble into the machine and then follow that marble to wherever it ends up. And, I'm logging step by step to figure out where did the marble fall off the track so that I can go in and fix that. How do I make that easier with a tool, I guess, is maybe the high level question, or what does the tool do that makes that easier on my behalf?
Yeah, so I think what you're referring to is called tracing. When we are, for example, implementing tracing, we are creating like a snapshot of that marble.
Okay.
Right? And where it went, and all of the data that can be gathered from all of the points, right? All of the little ridges and turning points where the marble went. So when you isolate that path for a specific request, right? There's, I don't know, a marble per request, or there can be like a separate marble that's within the same request, but we want to track something else, like a parallel process. When we see that, and when we follow the marble across multiple, we don't have a word for this now. We're using marbles, but then services. Yeah, but yeah, when we follow the marble across multiple services, we get a clearer picture as to what's happening, and yeah, how where we can go from that point.
And so this is interesting because one of the things that I have noticed is that when I start doing console log debugging, it is a little embarrassing to do that in production. I'm not saying I don't do it. I still definitely do. But when you have to ship a console log, and you just know you're going to ship another commit later that's going to remove all the console logs once you figured out what went wrong. But also the other thing that you're talking about here is this sort of like, you get the data over time in a trace, whereas with the console log, it's at that exact moment. So if you didn't think to log at the exact point where things broke, then you'll actually not catch it there. You'll see the snapshot ahead or the snapshot behind, and not where things actually went wrong, because you can't take those steps. So that in and of itself sounds like something that would save me a bunch of time, especially if you're trying to debug off of your machine. Like it works on my machine, but it doesn't work in production. What's different, right? That kind of console logging can be so slow, because it's, maybe it's a minute, maybe it's 5 minutes, maybe it's more to deploy that site every time. So, my focus doesn't last through multiple 5-minute deploys. I end up on social media, I end up wandering off and forgetting what I was doing. So being able to do this quickly through a trace feels like that in and of itself is a pretty huge win.
Okay, but buckle up for this demo then.
I'm ready. I'm so ready. Okay, and I know you had a million things that you were going to try to show me today. So let me stop jabbering and instead get us over into this view here, where we are going to talk about, first and foremost, our captioning. So this show, like every show, is being live captioned. We've got Vanessa here from Whitecoat Captioning. The link is scrolling across the bottom of the screen down here. You can follow that along. Human captioning is amazing. Thank you, Whitecoat Captioning. And that is made possible through the support of our sponsor, Tuple. And so today, Lazar and I are using Tuple as part of this call, which means that he's going to be able to draw on the screen as he's doing right now. He'll also be able to send over links. If I get really stuck, he can take over the keyboard and actually type on my behalf. It's a very nice tool if you're pair programming, doing anything kind of like remote screen sharing stuff. It's huge. And thank you, Tuple, for kicking in to make the show possible. We were talking to Lazar, so let me drop a link here to Lazar's Blue Sky, because that's where we're hanging out these days, everybody. And we're going to be talking about Sentry, which I think redirected me to my dashboard. So let me send the root URL here. /welcome will take me to the homepage.
Yep.
There we go. Okay. So we'll drop one of those in. All right. So that's the extent of the information that I have. So I'm going to ask you, what do I do next? What's our first step here?
Yeah. So let's prepare our code. I prepared a demo for today's episode. So let's go to github.com/ And that's gonna be, should I just paste the URL?
Yeah, but you know what? Why don't we got the tools. You can just shoot it right in here.
Let me see. This is text. Oh, this is just showing text.
Oh, no, there's a little like link thing at the top right of the screen share. And if you click that link thing, you should be able to paste a link in. It'll open in my browser.
Link thing. Oh, there we go. All right, github.com/Nikolov Lazar/flashcards. I got it right. Yes, I did.
There we are. Let me drop this into the chat for everybody.
Yeah, so this is a template repo. We're not going to clone this one. We're just going to use it to create our own repo. And then we're going to clone that one. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to create a new repository.
Yeah.
And that's the template. We'll put it on the Learn with Jason, and then we'll call this debugging flashcards. Okay, make it public, and off we go.
Nice. So we're going to clone this one.
Okay.
And we also got to make sure that we have a Sentry account.
Okay, and let's see. I do, so I'm going to sign in.
Sign in, and we are going to create 2 projects, but that's going to be later.
Yeah, so let me get this going here. What do I want to do? I'm going to open up a new one of these. I'm going to close this one down. We're going to go over here into GitHub and Learn with Jason, and then we're going to GitHub repo clone and this one. Okay, so then we're going to open that one up.
Nice. All right, so let's talk about the demo first. We have like it's not a mono repo. It's just a repo with 2 different projects. The API is the backend, which is in Django, that's Python. And the web, the front end, is a Next.js application. And at the bottom, we have a compose file, .yaml, that basically boots up the whole environment. We have a Postgres database. Here we have a migration script that applies the Django models into the database.
Okay.
And yeah, we also have the API there, and we also have the web there. So the web, this is the development environment. If we want to use it, we can, but we're just going to use the production environment because we want to simulate a real world scenario, right? We are running in production. That means things are minified. We can't really look at, stack traces. It's all just mushed up, scrambled together. So yeah, that's the thing. So in order to boot this up, we need to have Docker running, and we'll just do Docker compose up.
Do I need to do an npm install on the repo, on the web repo? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Docker compose up.
Compose up, and this is going to boot up everything. So
I checked that Docker worked on my machine before we got on this call because I've been bitten by that before.
All right, so this is going to create those Docker containers, create those images, and it's going to do npm install inside of those containers. So we don't really need to do anything here. We're going to do that later.
I understand. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to do that later in order to install Sentry. But for now, we'll just boot everything up, click around, see how the application looks like. And yeah, we can like point out the 3 bugs that we are going to be looking at today, and those 3 bugs are going to be like more and more complex.
So I want to pull this up while we're waiting for Docker to run. There's major keyboard envy today, and I just want to point out to everybody that we did not coordinate this.
Yeah.
But we absolutely matched. Let me turn this banner off so you can see. Look at this. We got split keyboards, notebook in the middle. Look at us, huh? Basically twins. Let's see. So we're almost here. Looks like we're getting close. There we go. All right. So everything's running over on this side.
Oh, you have a container name. DB is already in use.
Oh, wait. What? Have to remove or rename that?
You gotta do like Docker PS and see what's running, or just like Docker stop and.
Great. What? Let's see. What am I doing here? So
maybe I should have named that. Let's try this. This is off the script. So go to the compose YAML. Go scroll all the way up to the DB and just like, change that. Do, I don't know, flashcards -db or something like that.
Okay, and that won't break anything else like the...
It should be like a separate container now.
Okay, so let's run that again. And it looks like a lot of the stuff will already exist. Now it's doing the flashcards DB thing.
The builds is like pre-cached. These are migrations. There's
The next site's running.
And the API as well, right? So we can go on a localhost 3000 and we can start playing around with the demo.
All right, so here's localhost 3000.
Nice, there we go. So
Hey.
This is a flashcards application. We have categories in flashcards. This was initially built as like a, you're in an alternate universe and you're basically employed to a lot of superstores, and all of the superstores, they have different products. You gotta know where they are in which department, right? For example, if you want, I don't know, chicken drums, go to the butcher, poultry, I don't know. But this is like an alternate universe, so things might get a bit weird. So categories are going to be the superstores, and flashcards are going to be the products, right?
Okay.
And we can actually dive in right into the first issue. So let's create a flashcard and a category.
Got it.
Category and name it, I don't know, Walmart, for example. There we go. So we have a category. We don't have any flashcards. What will happen if we go to practice and try to practice that category, right? Bam. So we have a client-side exception, right? So if it says see the browser console for more information, go to the browser console. Do you like this information?
This is good. Yeah, cannot read properties of undefined. This looks like how I debug.
Right, but we don't know where that is, right? It's reading question. If you like search for question in the whole project, there's going to be a lot of mentions. And if you try to click into one of these files, again, what do you know?
Yeah, not great.
It's all minified. It's in production. You have no idea. So yeah, we are going to install Sentry now. And we're going to convert this type of error into something a lot more tangible. Actually, like it's going to be a production error, but as if it was in dev time. So
got it. Okay.
Stop the Docker now. We're going to install Sentry in both projects.
Okay. And I just do that by going in to each one separately? Okay.
Yeah, but we're going to need to create some projects first. Yeah, so go to packages web and like stay there, and we're going to go into web. And I'll go into Sentry, and we're going to create 2 projects. Projects, yeah.
Okay.
Top right, there we go. And now let's create the Next.js first. So we already have a Next.js.
Am I looking right at it? Oh, here it is. Okay. See, I knew that this was going to be helpful.
Yeah. Good suggestion. Yeah, so we're creating a project. So first and foremost, Sentry gets installed into your project. We have framework, language, and even framework specific SDKs, as you can see here, because we tap into the framework itself and use like the lifecycle hooks, use all of the data that framework gives us. In that way, that's how we provide the most debugging context. Whenever issues happen, whenever like performance issues happen, etc. This is what we need to install. It's not like here's a JavaScript generic browser SDK, and that doesn't matter if you're in, I don't know, Vue.js or Next.js. It's just JavaScript. No, we actually tap into the framework itself. So
got it.
Even better, more data, right? Then we set up the alert frequency if we want to have emails, or if you want to notify us with like Slack, or Discord, or Microsoft Teams.
That Microsoft
if you're
Teams?
Using that, yeah, my condolences. But yeah, if you want to get notified, we'll find you where you are and we'll send you a message that something's on fire. And yeah, debugging.
So that's a good tagline for Sentry. We'll find you.
We'll find you. We'll find you.
All right, so I'm going to create this.
Yeah, and this is going to be the Next.js one. So look at that. Just copy paste.
All right, so this is we're pulling in a wizard. It's using all right, okay, good.
Yeah, you see
doing
everything
all the
there,
stuff.
Right? You have the org, you have the project, so we don't really need to select anything.
And now I'm already in web, so I run it in this web project.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go.
This will invoke the wizard, and the wizard is going to do a lot of things. Yeah, install it. First, the wizard knows that we're talking about a Next.js application because we gave that flag -i, right? It just says uncommitted, untracked. We don't care about this. We do want to.
It's not going to
continue.
touch the compose, so that should be fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Do I already have a Sentry account? I do.
And now it's going to open the wizards. There we go. Now it's authenticated. Go back.
Okay,
there we go.
Here we go.
It's installing Sentry Next.js. And what this is going to do is going to create a whole bunch of things for the client, for the server, etc. Let's talk about this now. Do you want to route Sentry request in the browser through your Next.js server to avoid ad blockers? Here's the thing. Ad blockers are vicious, right? So whenever a request goes out to like a third party, if your website is hosted on mywebsite.com and the ad blocker sees a request going on Sentry.io, it's going to think that it might be, like an ad or analytics tool, etc. So it's going to block it. If 100% of your users use ad blockers, then you're not going to get any data, right? It's almost never the case that 100% of the users use ad blockers, just to have this in mind, right? So what we built into the Next.js SDK is a little tunnel. So instead of the browser sending the request to the Sentry.io directly, it's going to send it to a route handler in Next.js, and that one is going to proxy it to Sentry.io, so that we will fool the ad blocker into saying, yeah, this is my own implementation. It's on /monitoring, right? It's my own implementation. It's not analytics. It's not like third party. I'm just gonna route it here, so it's not gonna get blocked. But that means if you, for example, host this on Vercel on serverless, that means more traffic, more serverless function executions, and that means more money. So yeah. Have that in mind. It's always, it depends, right? In this case, we don't want to do that, but if you wonder what that is, that's what it is.
Got it.
Proxy, yeah.
Got it. Okay, right. Do we want to enable React component annotations?
We definitely do. So this will increase the bundle size. I can show you what this does later, in like a few minutes, but do that. Tracing,
of course.
Yeah.
Session replay. This is a cool feature. So session replay, if I understand correctly, really just whenever, but you can configure it to be when somebody has an error, we can actually see what they were doing in the app when the error occurred, right? So it's almost like having a screen recording.
But it's not like a .mov or MP4. It's like DOM recording. It's pretty cool.
And this also, it anonymizes too, right? So like it's not tracking my email or whatever. It's just showing me like, this is what somebody was doing on the screen, but I configured it so the user info is gone, and it's still like we're not spying on people. We're just trying to understand why our app is broken.
Yeah, we are very into privacy and hiding PII. So PII gets scrubbed on multiple places. First, when the recording happens, it's going to leave the user's computer with PII already scrubbed. And the way that we handle like anything that's text or image get like obfuscated, it's going to get like the text get replaced with stars. And it's Sentry implements an opt-out model instead of opt-in. Everything
which is really important, because if you don't have an opt-out model, then you're basically like, if you're not paying attention, you're going to send every bit of data to...
No, it's the other way.
Right. Well, right. Because
you're not sending any data unless you manually annotate it. This is good.
And that's really, really good, because I think that that means that most of the time we don't need to know what's on the screen, right? It's very rare that we need the actual data. We just need to know what page they were on and like what broke. Exactly. And so then, we can kind of just say safely, we don't need any of the text. We know what the pages on the site look like. But if it is critical, you can like just opt in the headline or something, so you can see what section of the wizard they were in when it broke or whatever it is.
Yeah. Layout elements, anything that's like fixed and not dynamic, static. Yeah.
So it's asking me if I want to create an example page, and I'm assuming because we already have a site set up, we probably don't need this.
Yeah, if you don't have me as a guest, then you probably want to, if you want to see how it looks like, but we don't, because, I'm here, so.
Do we want to keep the CI/CD?
This is only going to add This is only going to show you the API key on the screen, so you can set that as an environment variable. But so no,
Okay.
you are going to have a file. You are going to have a file. So when we rebuild the Docker image, it's going to be in there. But
Got
yeah,
it.
that's for source maps, and we'll talk about that later. So
Got it.
we got this. Let's go to the
Okay.
API now and do the same.
Okay, so we go to the API. We're going to call this one
It's going to be a Django.
Debugging Flashcards API. You said it was Django, which I can see that one. And just follow the same process here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to
So
copy
we're not going to
this.
do this. Check this out now. We're not going to do this.
Oh, we're not going to do this.
Yeah. So go to the requirements.txt file and just copy the text within. And I'm going to show you. You don't even need to copy. It's like really small.
Requirements.txt.
Yeah. This is package.json in a way.
Wait, where do we put this?
I'm going to go up.
Oh, you
just need to add Sentry SDK at the bottom. Sentry-SDK, and then in Square Boys, you're going to write Django. There we go. So
do I need to set the version?
No, just yeah,
just like that.
Latest, yeah. You can fix it to a certain version, but for this purpose, we'll just keep it like this.
Okay.
Right. And then we're gonna go into the settings.py, and we're gonna basically do this.
Settings.py was
going to be in source, API source, shared. This is a DDD type of project. So go to shared presentation. Django. God damn it, not presentation, sorry. Django. There we go. You see it.
Aha!
Infra Django, and then we go settings.
Got it. And so I'm grabbing this bit here, and I just drop this right.
Yeah.
Like anywhere, or
like at the above the read_env. That's good.
Like here.
Yeah. Load up the environment first, just in case, and then initialize the SDK.
Got it. Okay, so we'll move this up to. Oh my goodness. Well, please stop. Help less. There we go.
There we go. Yeah.
All right, like that.
So we're initializing the DSN basically points to your organization and your project and your Sentry instance, because for those of you who don't know, we are fair source. That means you can grab Sentry's code and put it on your server. Right? And the DSN is not going to go to Sentry.io, it's going to go to your domain, wherever you put it. Right? But if you don't want to do that, of course, you can use the Sentry SaaS, the platform itself. And it's free. It's free for to get started. There's a free developer account, and then the pricing is interesting because it's like a DIY. You can buy more errors if you need them, and not buy other stuff, or you can buy more performance transactions and spans if you need them, and not buy errors. So it's like a DIY payment plan. We're missing one thing here. Aside from the DSN, we see that we have the traces sample rate. That means 100% of the transactions are going to be sent. For development, this is fine, but never push 1.0 in production. We're going to keep it at 1.0 just so we don't have all day. So keep it as that, but remember, like, set it to like 15%, and then like slowly or like gradually go up. That's it.
Got it.
Yeah. And then we're going to add the profiles sample rate, because we're going to, if the time allows, we're going to look at some profiles as well.
Like this?
Yeah.
Do we want to keep it at 100 for dev?
Nice.
Okay.
All right. So we're saving this. And now let's go back to the Sentry. We're going to go back to the web
project.
The web project. In the code.
Oh, in the code.
Yeah. Let's go in the code and open the Sentry config for the server. It's a file at the root of the web. There we go.
Sentry server config. Got it.
Yeah. So below the debug, you can add trace propagation targets, and you're gonna see a little. There we go. Trace propagation targets. It's an array of strings, or regex. So we're gonna add two strings, localhosts, and another string, API, with lowercase. Yeah. This is because localhost is by default, and API is how the API is named within the Docker Compose network.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and what this means is whenever we're creating transactions and we're starting traces and we're sending it off to this different origin, we want to propagate that so that we can continue, the trace on the backend. That's the connection there.
Excellent. Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah.
So then do I need to rebuild this or?
Yeah. Let's go back to the root and we can do like docker compose up and then dash build. Yeah. So we can like force
and build.
Yeah.
Okay. And then this is embarrassing, but I have been hydrating super hard, like way too hard. And so I need to use the restroom. So while this builds, I'm going to run away. And if it gets done before I get back, feel free to take over the screen and start moving and I'll catch up. I'm so sorry. I'll be right back.
Don't worry. That's why I didn't actually get any water. I was afraid that this was going to happen. Oh, look at that. All right, let's see. What do we have here now? It says log file not found. Oh, I know. So this. If we do docker ps, we're gonna see. Let's do docker compose down and actually type that correctly. This is going to, there we go, remove the existing containers. And now let's do docker compose up and then dash build because we want to rebuild the API and the web. Nope, I guess I'm gonna need to prune a bunch of stuff. Like delete the image. Yeah, I never got this right. Jason, do you have a lot of Docker images locally?
I don't think so.
Can I do this?
Sure.
All right. It's gonna save up a lot of space. It's basically deleting, images, etc.
Oh yeah, two gigs of space that I was not using.
Yeah, and now we're gonna claim that back. So, all right.
That's helpful.
Let's see. We didn't pray to the demo gods.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
So, a little hiccup there, but I hope we can recover this.
Yeah, we're gonna do great here. I know. Like the thing about water is that everybody's like, oh yeah, you should hydrate. Like keep hydrating, definitely hydrate, and then they don't tell you that there's zero chance you're gonna be able to sit still for 90 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's see how we doing here.
What is this? Let's see. It keeps complaining about the log file.
Oh, come on. Don't do this to me. Okay, I know what this is. I've had this issue on my computer. I don't fully understand what it is, but the way that we solve it is instead of using CI, we just have it npm install. So let me get to the web here.
Yeah, there's a docker file dash prod.
Docker file dash prod.
Yeah. Gonna find it there.
Yep.
And this is where I'm creating the image. It's using Node 18.
So it's the npm CI. I had this issue when I was trying to do some stuff on Fly, and it kept failing, and like nobody can reproduce this issue. So I have a magically screwed up computer that for some reason like npm CI does not work anymore.
Good to
but
know.
This should fix it.
Yeah. Good
Probably.
to know.
We'll see.
I got this Docker file from the Next.js example repo. So it's like a two-stage build process. We're building first, and then we're only creating the image out of the deliverables. There we go.
Here we go. Now it's doing the thing. Somebody's asking, is Sentry something like Datadog? I think the chronological answer is that Datadog is something like Sentry, right?
Pretty much, yeah. But no, yeah. There are, of course, like differences, and there are similarities as well. I know people want to use Sentry because it's cheaper. Something to have in mind.
Let's see. So things are actually working now. I'm very excited about this. Somebody's asking about your keyboard. You got the Voyager.
I got the Voyager, yeah. And someone asked what mounts am I using. I got smartphone holders, magnetic ones. Let me try to present this.
Oh, it is not. So this is not a keyboard mount. You have literally like rigged yourself up a custom stand.
Yeah, and it's working flawlessly. Like, check this out. This is just for like smartphones, you know.
That's genius.
Yeah,
I love it. Meanwhile, I spent extra to get like the custom machined like 9-pound stand for this this Moonlander keyboard, which I will say I do like it because it doesn't slide at all. But I also I bet that thing that you've rigged up has like a little rubber mat on it so that it won't move.
Yeah,
and that would have solved the same problem for probably a lot less money.
Yeah. All right, we're back up. All right, so what we achieved now is we installed Sentry into both of the API and web projects. We connected those two, so whenever we start, you know, like an operation on the front end, it's gonna ping the Next.js backend, and then it's also gonna ping the, you know. So let's do this again. Go inspect element now, real quick, just so I can show you what that React thingy did when it asked us. Go to the console.
Go to the console.
Yeah, this is still mushed up, right? Click on the first one, and you get something interesting. You see that data Sentry element, data Sentry source file?
Oh,
we're parsing that
look at
server.
this.
Yeah, and this is the bundle size. We'll increment
I gotcha.
thingy, but yeah, this is how we parse this later on the backend in Sentry, and then we're gonna show you a really as if you were in development, but that it's actually debugging in production. Right, so let's go to Sentry now, because we have a little letter waiting for us there.
Okay.
Go to issues.
Issues?
Yeah.
I'm in the, let's see, this is the API.
This is one. Yeah.
I'm looking at the web, right?
There we go. This is the undefined, right? Click into it. And look at that. You see the code snippet at the bottom, the stack trace.
Oh, this is from the source code.
In production.
Oh.
Yeah, so you can't see it in Chrome. It's still mushed up, but because when we use the wizard, it actually implemented like a webpack hook that when you run npm run build, it's gonna get all of the source maps and it's gonna upload them to Sentry for you. So when an error happens, we get the stack trace and then we hit it against the source maps, so we get the source code. But we don't ship the source code to the browser, right? That's it. So this is how we can actually debug things now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We have the source code. These are the annotations that we saw. And this is basically the issue details screen. We have a lot of stuff. So let's go up. This, for example, as opposed to other, you know, tools out there, we are grouping the issues. So if 100 users experience this undefined reading question, there's not going to be 100 issues. There's going to be a one issue. It's going to tell you that 100 times happened and 100 users were affected.
Ah, nice.
Yeah,
very
you can
nice.
set your priority here, right? If you want to set it too high, too low, this is basically all you here. You get some event highlights, like what is the production, what is the level, what's the release. If you have custom release tags, 1.0, 1.1, etc., you're going to know, especially useful for mobile developers.
Yeah.
What is the page? It says transaction, but in this case, it's the page /practice. The browser, the user, it's opt-out. So if we wanted to, we can also track users, but it's not tracking out of the box, right? We can assign this issue to one of our team members. I'm not sure if you have, yeah. There's going to be a lot of members. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of members. You can assign it to someone. You're gonna see a little, like, in the last 24 hours or 30 days, how much it happened. When was the last time that this issue was seen, and when was the first time that this issue was seen? So, like, is it regressing? Is it an old issue, or is it a new issue? Right? And then, like, releases at the bottom. So we can scroll down now. We're gonna talk about the Solutions Hub. And
so we got releases, issue tracking. So if
yeah.
I wanted to fire this off into GitHub,
we can we can set up the GitHub integration, and this will open a GitHub issue for us, or Jira, or any of the like project management platforms out there. And we also have the tags. And what I love about the tags is that we can we can use tags to help us identify the priority, because these are automatically set for us, but that doesn't mean that we can set them ourselves. So when a user logs in, I'm not going to I'm still going to keep their identity, but I'm going to check on their type. So if it's an enterprise user, I'm going to say enterprise. If it's a free user, it's going to say free user.
Okay.
And this basically gives us like an aggregation. 100% of the errors belong to this user. If this was like a type of user, there's going to be like a division, right? So if this issue affects more enterprise users, you're gonna put that as a P0. If it's a free user, P3 maybe. That's on you. But that's how you can use tags in order to make decisions. Do we fix this now? Do we fix this later? Yeah. Then we have session replay. I'm gonna fly through this because we don't have much time. But session replay is that recording that you mentioned. It is a DOM recording. If you zoom in, you're gonna see everything is like stars. Everything is obfuscated.
Yeah, so we can see here that, like, as we're going through the pages, the information itself isn't being displayed. Exactly. So we're not leaking any like data about who I am or anything like that. We just get to see, but like we can recognize where we are in the app from this.
Yeah, exactly. So this is very handy. Like the short view of session replay. We're gonna like dive into session replay a bit later. So. And then at the bottom we have breadcrumbs and a whole bunch of other information. But right now, I want you to go all the way up, and we're gonna check out the Solutions Hub, top right. We literally launched this 2 days ago. If this is slow, that means a lot of people are testing it out right now. But what we're doing is we're using AI to solve our issue. So we're not just like coding with AI, we're actually debugging with AI now. This is the first AI debugger in the world.
Oh, look at this.
Yeah.
Explicit permission to train a model on my data. Who knew?
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So it's going to try to figure out what's wrong. It has the source maps. It has the source code. It has the GitHub integration, right? All these things. Displayed flashcards might not be initialized or populated correctly before rendering.
Okay, that
sounds like a good,
Sounds right.
Scroll all the way to the bottom now. I'm not
sure. I am all the way to the bottom.
With this, yeah. Hit close and open it again. There should be something at the bottom.
Let me refresh in case. There we go. Open autofix.
There we go. And now just click the start autofix. We can give them more context if you wanted to, but it's optional. You can just like hit the button.
Okay.
There we go. So now it's crunching.
A rubber ducky.
So it's analyzing the issue. It's looking at the source. Arises from the undefined display flashcards due to the category dependency. Nice. Indicates that the display flashcards may be empty due to an incomplete API response or state reset. Okay. So it's going to give us, these little messages, but there are actions later.
Yeah, so it's thinking. We can see it thinking down here.
Yeah. Before the API response is fully processed, leading to undefined. Yeah. So it's looking into two different scenarios. As we can see, first is it's like not properly initialized or empty, and we're trying to access it, or it might be a race condition error. It might be trying to access the flashcards before they even load. It's going to be the first one. All right, so there we go. missing suspense boundary leading to premature render attempt. This issue manifest, yada, yada, yada. You can look at it. And of this is a race condition where the component attempts to render and access displayed flashcards of step.question before the data has been fetched and processed. So if you worked on this project, you're gonna know what this is because you know the file now, you know here's the display flashcard. You can see like the file on the left side here. But yeah, it is telling us something. We can use this suggested root cause, or we can even provide our own if we think we're smarter. So let's do that.
We're going to propose our own.
Yeah, I mean, use suggested root cause is just going to use this, but we're going to say displayed flashcards array is empty. The API returns an empty response or something like that. Yeah. All right. Find the fix.
Okay.
Yeah. So now it's going to crunch a bit more. It's going to figure out how to fix this. And it's going to give us a suggestion. We're going to look at it. If the suggestion looks good to us, we are going to, we're going to give it a thumbs up. And it's
there we go. That's what we needed.
Yeah.
Check for empty. Good.
Yeah, there we go. To prevent runtime errors. That's exactly the fix, right? Like an empty state. We don't have an empty state.
Yeah. All right. Good job, robot.
Yeah. So now it's going to ask us, do we want a PR out of this? And we're going to say, yeah. So it's literally going to create a PR in our repo so we can go and merge it if we wanted to. But right now it's writing code for us.
Got it. Got it.
And all right.
No flashcards available for this category. That seems right. Okay.
Yeah. It's thinking in the right direction.
I want this like AI code assistant to have like a little avatar, and then whenever I'm happy, instead of like giving it a thumbs up, I want to give it a head pat. Like, good job, little buddy. Implement loading and error states in the UI. Good. I like that.
Okay.
So checks that it's an array. Otherwise, it gives an empty. I'm happy with that. It replaces. Okay, that's fine. Replaces them as is.
And there's an early return. Yeah, a guard.
That's what we want.
Yeah. So let's go to approve changes. You have the opportunity to go back and forth with this bot. Right now, we'll just say, yeah, this is what we want. So let's just create a PR.
Okay.
Yeah. And now install the autofix to the org and repo.
I need to get out of some of these orgs. I'm in so many. Let's see. Select repositories. We're going to put it into
just that one. Debugging flashcards. Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
That's.
It's already been installed, but that's the GitHub one. Try that again. If not, we can try the old repositories and you can delete that later if you don't want it to.
What's going on? Debug. It's already there. Yeah, it's already installed because it's not even finding the one that's not there.
Okay, can you go back and let's see, go back to Sentry and it should give us.
GitHub app has already been installed. Okay, so I'm going to close this one. You successfully did it. Okay, so I think I might have just kicked it twice and it ran twice.
Autofix again.
Back to autofix.
Yeah.
Approve changes. Create PR.
Let's see.
And now.
Drum roll. There we go. Go
View
check it out.
PR.
This is a PR opened by.
And it opens a draft. I do like that. So it doesn't fire off the CI.
Yeah, so it gives you a little.
Who triggered it? That's nice. Did it? That's a link into the issue in Sentry.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And the changes
so
are
then we
the
get our
ones that
file
we saw.
Changes are the ones that we would expect.
Yeah. You don't need to merge this one if we don't want it to. Right now it's in GitHub. That means here's the fix. You can edit it if you wanted to, etc., etc. But yeah,
Got it. So we could hit ready for review, and then it would kick off like our CI/CD, et cetera, et cetera.
All the things, yeah. If you wanted to merge it, fine. If not,
but yeah, let's merge it. Let's merge it. Let's pull it down. Let's get our fix here.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get pull.
Yeah, unstage.
Oh,
stuff.
I need to.
A lot of unstage stuff.
Oh, got it. Okay, so
if you wanted to, you can do that. If not, we can like skip it. YOLO.
All right, here we go. Okay, so that pulls us back in, and then we're gonna run Docker compose build. It should go nice and quick because we've already set up all the services. It won't go nice and quick?
Yeah, because we made a bunch of changes to the web. I mean, the PR opens and introduces changes to the web. So we're gonna wait for Next.js to rebuild again.
Ah, okay.
It's
so we get to blame Next.js. Anytime I get to blame Next.js for something, I'm actually kind of happy.
This time as well. So there we go.
Let's see. So yeah, I hate fixing bugs. I just like causing them. Same, extremely same.
Yeah.
Yeah, since the file change, it needs to rebuild the container. That makes sense, I guess. I was hopeful. I thought maybe it was going to do some magic.
Yeah, we can leave it like this. We can try the dev stuff, but we don't need to because it's not tested. So please don't. No, it might work. So it's there for like educational purposes. Yeah. So we're gonna wait. You know.
Yeah. Okay. So this is. Oh, what did you? Did you fail on me? Wait, this is different.
It says failed to compile.
Failed to compile. Use memo is called conditionally.
Oh
no! That. Did our bot screw us?
Yeah.
Bot. Okay. Let's look at what change that got us.
Use memo is called conditional. There we go. It's after the if.
Okay.
Right,
so that's a problem.
Yeah. The model needs to be stronger on React.
Got it. Okay, so we can fix this though. So now we get to be developers.
Yeah.
And it got us most of the way there.
Yeah. So go to. No, not there. Go to.
What page was it?
App.
App. There it is.
It's gonna be
practice flashcards, and then we're gonna look for our use memo.
And the if is like above there.
Here's our if. So okay. Yeah. This then I think goes.
Put it all the way down.
It just goes under the memo, right? Under the use state and the use memo.
Yeah, if the use state is like the last.
There's a use
there's
effect.
An effect as well. Where's the last? Yeah, there we go.
Okay. So that should work.
Mm-hmm.
All right. One more try.
Our jobs are safe.
I mean, but I think this is part of the, it's also, I think, a good indication that like, we can't fully let go of the reins, right? And had we reviewed this code more closely, we would have probably noticed that, or maybe we wouldn't have, who knows? It also, I think, points to having a better local dev environment so that you could validate these, pull the PR down, run it, find out that something is wrong, as opposed to just like yeeting it direct to production.
Exactly. Now I just wish that I fixed the dev container.
You know, it's fine. It's fine. We've got a solid like 35 minutes left to get through these other 7 features you wanted to show me.
Okay, let's try that. I'm gonna get some coffee. Maybe that'll make things faster.
Just pour a little bit right into the computer, you know, just keep it going. What's up, Nick? How you doing? Welcome in. Okay, so this and I won't restart the container again while we're going here. We'll let the rest of them be sort of hypotheticals just because we want to make sure we have enough time.
Yeah, maybe just like one more time, but that's it.
Sure. Okay. Well, I'll let you make that call. I won't get happy with restarting things. Database is ready.
Okay, so now it's booting up.
There's the next.
There's Next.js and there's the API.
There's the API. So let's get back out here.
At the API, yeah.
Let's try this again. Now we're ready to practice. I'm going to start, and it's going to say
Drum roll.
No flashcards available.
There's no
so
crash.
instead of exploding, it actually works the way we would expect. So that's
So we'll go to Walmart and we can add a bunch of stuff. So there we go. Issue number 1 fixed.
solved.
Yeah, we don't need to go there. Let's do the second one. Try to create a category for Apple employees or for Zara employees.
Zara, like that?
Yeah. All right, so category created. But it's not.
What just happened?
And there's no error. So what would you do? Inspect element, go to networks, and look at the request, right?
Yes. Well, yeah.
Try that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
create again.
Try again.
Yeah. Create.
There's the create.
Categories.
Okay. Here's categories, and 500. It says, "What's my response?" RSC response server error. Okay. Really. Why did we get a server error?
Yeah. So the API breaks, but we don't know why. The front end doesn't receive anything. It just says 500, right? So, you can kiss console log goodbye in this case. This project might not even be owned by your team.
Right.
It's Django, so maybe there's another team working on the Django project. And they are getting errors in Sentry, but do they know that the error is here in this issue? How would you connect the front-end issue with the back-end issue? Right? That's the challenge, because they have their own project manager, they have their own priorities and stuff.
And I think that this is one of the things that gets really challenging, because so I've worked in companies that are large enough to have lots of different services, and when you hit this kind of problem, what I witnessed was people getting defensive, and how that manifested is that we would look and say, we validated that we're successfully sending to your service. This is no longer our problem. And then we'd open an issue for them, we'd walk away.
Yeah.
And it would be up to them to figure out how it worked, if they needed reproductions on our side or anything like that. We would eventually help them, but it certainly wasn't a priority for us, right?
Exactly,
and it dragged, like, you could witness in meetings, if something crossed a service boundary, the whole place iced over. And nobody wanted to talk about it, nobody wanted to deal with it. So this is a very serious form of project slowdown. And the way that I would end up solving it, like in practice, is I would probably get on Slack. I'd figure out who the owner of the service was. I'd start, sending them DMs being like, hey, we're getting an error. Do you know why? And that kind of puts it into their court. I'm like, all right, I'm making this your problem.
It's off my hands now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like I'm getting to the point where I have reported the bug, and then I sort of wash my hands of it. I'm hoping you're about to tell me there's a better way.
Yeah, we're going to put the whole thing on one tray.
Let's do it.
From the front end to the back end, and we'll see which backend error causes this front end error, right? So,
okay, so if I go back to my issues.
Yeah, go back to the issues, you're going to see.
We don't get anything here, although I do get to mark this one as resolved. Ta-da! Okay.
Damn. All right, so let's click on and select the Django one, because this is a backend issue. You're going to see, there we go, category name too short.
Oh, all right. So we already have like good insight into what's going on here.
Yeah, but imagine you have like 99 other issues.
Sure.
Right? You might not know that this is what's causing the front-end issue, that exact cause, front-end issue. You can see where it is, like there's a self.name is less than 6. Right here, there's a validation, and this is like a validation mismatch between the front-end and the back-end, stuff that we usually hit. But yeah, we are gonna put it on one trace, because right now it could be, connected. Like you can have people, get angry on Twitter at your app saying you can't really create categories and the app is terrible and no one should use it, etc. And that might give you like a little insight into how you can start it. Or you can actually go and set up feedback. Let's go back to VS Code. And we are going to we're going to set up two things. So first, let's go to the Sentry client config, and we're going to add the feedback configuration, feedback integration next to the replay. So we got the replay integration. We're gonna add the feedback.
Ah, this one. Okay.
Yeah. Feedback integration. And this is going to add a fully customizable button.
Is it one of these
Just
three?
the integration, yeah.
This one, okay.
So this is gonna add like a fully customizable button.
Okay.
That we can, it's like an overlay. You'll see it. That's one thing. And the other thing is, if we wanted to start a custom trace, we can do that. But let's just keep it like this. Well, I'm gonna show you later. Now we're gonna rebuild the project again.
Okay.
We're gonna rebuild the project again, and we're going to see this the feedback integration in action. And what this is going to do, as I mentioned, it's gonna add a little button in the corner of your screen. Whenever something happens, that button, the users will click that button and report the issue.
I can show this.
Yeah.
Look.
There we go. That's the thing, right?
Yeah, if you see an issue on Learn with Jason, you can report a bug, and this is using the Sentry feedback thing.
Yeah, and this is basically going to tap into the trace itself.
Okay.
And we connected the backend and the front end. So when the user leaves a bug report that categories are not created, it's going to resurface that category name not found that was in the Python project for us. So everything is going to be on one place.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's also going to have a session replay tied to that feedback, so that you can see how the user used the app and even filled out the feedback form.
And so the idea here is just making sure I understand. I'm the user. I load this page, and on Sentry's side, you're creating like a session for me as the user. And then when I go to create that category, the session that I'm using gets the error on the API side, but on the client side, there's no problem.
Yeah.
So then
no problem. It says
when I go to the feedback, my same session is intact, and I say this broke.
Yeah.
Then what that signifies is that something happened that should group all this together. So now my feedback, my client, my web app session replay, and the API trace are all sort of associated as like, there was an event here, something happened.
Yeah, exactly.
That's super clever.
Let's go check it out.
Okay. So I'm out here.
Yeah, do a little refresh because we have the new
right.
button.
There we go. Okay, so here's our bug. So I'm gonna try to create Zara again.
Yeah.
It says category created.
Yeah. Optional name, optional email.
It is optional. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
the required one is the message. Like, tell me what you expected. Yell. And yes. Try yelling. Let's see. You can attach a screenshot if you wanted to. We're not gonna do this here because there's nothing.
Right. Okay. Yeah, so now I've made my report.
There we go.
Angrily.
So, as you should.
And so now if I come back out here, or wait, I go to issues.
Now we're gonna go to user feedback now.
Oh, we're going to user feedback.
We are gonna have an issue. Like, there's like multiple ways to get to this, right? But there's gonna be a user feedbacks for us.
What if I already did this?
Yeah.
Did I need to add a thing?
Do a little refresh. No, it should just give it like a minute.
Here we okay. I'm getting things out of sync here.
Yeah. So
okay, so
Jason
I did this.
Is yelling at us. I'm surprised that it didn't mark it as spam, because yelling and profanity usually marks it as spam. But I think you were gentle enough to be in the inbox. But yeah, this is the feedback. It's not just text. You get the session replay, you get the URL where it happened at the top, and can you scroll up a little bit?
Up or down?
All right, there we go. See full replay. So we're gonna see the full replay here. The whole session, even of you filling the replay, etc.
Right. So here's where I actually tried to do some stuff.
Yeah, you try doing
Okay,
that.
we're doing the thing.
There we
Got
go.
our note.
But it's not there.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So try to click on the trace. Let's see the trace. And you can like make more room because this is gonna be big, and also like collapse the sidebar. No traces found. Maybe this hasn't been like crunched yet or updated yet. So try going back to the feedback. There should be a trace. If not, we'll try again. Maybe it's like the... Let's see. We do have that. We should have a trace as well.
Do I need to... let's see. Full replay, trace. Right. Looks like we're missing that part.
The demo gods are testing us. All right, let's try this then. This is basically sending a post request to... this is to post to /API/categories. So let's go to performance here. To see if we have that trace, we're gonna click on the Django project, or this one actually. Let's skip this one. This is better, and go and find the post. There we go. Source API categories. Go to sampled events at the top, and this is going to give us the events that we triggered. So let's pick this one, for example. These are all of the instances, and this is gonna take us to the trace view. We should have seen this basically, but maybe it's like the data is not there yet. Yeah, so this is the trace view. This is that tray that has all the client side stuff, all the server side stuff on one single, screen. So we can see top to bottom that we loaded the manage screen, and then we made the post here, and there's this gap of nothing because we were filling up the form.
Oh, we were thinking, right? That's the computer wasn't working.
And this is when we did that post. So if you expand this is Next.js, right? We see the logo, it's Next.js. Expand this is Django side now. So this is basically telling us this happened on the server until this point. It's Next.js. But until this point on, this is Django. This is Python.
Ah, that's slick. That's really slick.
There we go.
And somebody's asking what the tool is. This is all being done inside Sentry. So we've installed Sentry on the Django app that is the API. We've installed Sentry on the Next app that's the front end. And this is all of those pieces getting tied together here.
Yeah. So there we go.
Okay. So this is also what's really interesting about this is that as we're looking at this event, these are two separate properties, right? Or two separate projects.
Languages.
But you know how to tie them together in the backend.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is the trace. This is the distributed trace. This is console.log on multiple environments. The server is like somewhere, I don't know, the user's computer somewhere in Europe or in US.
Right.
Yeah. And we can expand these things, we can expand them, and there's auto grouping, but you can see all the middlewares that Django hid and the event itself. And now we see that the category name too short is caused when we try to post on /categories. This is that link, right? And this is the Django, so we'll just report this to the backend team. I mean, we don't even need to. They're gonna see that, just by looking at the trace, this happens when we do this. So the front end is not working, right? And because we do have that session recording, they can even go see the session replay when they post on /categories and see that little thing at the bottom. We're gonna like opt out of masking, so they'll see. They're going to see that there's a category created successfully.
Right.
Toast.
And now, does this? So when I'm like, say I'm in here.
Yeah.
Can I get to that session replay from here as well?
Let's see. We got the trace. We got the web vitals.
So I got the trace.
Yeah.
Got the web vitals.
We got the profiles, and we're going to get into the profiles later. But I'm not sure. We can do the opposite. But maybe we can, or we should. Yeah, that's the trace. There's the page load. Yeah. I don't know where it's linked. Maybe it's on this one, because this is the page load.
Transact. Okay, so yeah, maybe not
Yeah,
from
not
this.
directly. Like you can go into the, let's see, we have the breadcrumbs here. Yeah, maybe not directly, but you can
Okay.
definitely go into like the error or, you know, whatever, and go from there. This
Got
is
it.
more for
Okay.
like, you know, debugging the operation flow. You get the profiles here, but we're going to talk about the profiles. Yeah.
Cool.
Later.
Okay.
So,
All right.
yeah.
So
This is how we connected
this
the
is great.
front-end issue with the back-end issue.
And it is like knowing how the apps work, you know, as the owner here of, let's say I own the front end, I can see, all right, here's where I posted, and then we see that this went through, and I can see that the error came from Django. So we have a proof that the error is happening on the other side.
Yeah.
Then being able to come in here and say like, oh, we hit this specific error.
Exactly.
I don't have to be on that team to know. Like, honestly, this here, that's kind of a game changer for me as a dev, because I don't own this service. I don't write Python, but I definitely can see that that's a problem.
Yeah, but it's your problem. Even though if it's in Python, that means that your team that work on Next.js application did not implement the, you know, validation. So
right. Or we
it's a
need to go back
backend
to this
issue.
team and say like, hey, this validation is too restrictive. We need to relax
Let's
it.
align. Yeah.
Very
there we
cool.
go. The
very,
dots
very
are connected.
Cool.
Yeah. We're gonna check out another error, and this is going to be a bit more complex. It's not gonna be it's not an error, it's an issue. So we already have the data for it. If you go and reload the /manage page into the demo,
in the demo,
sample rate, I would say like 15%, and then, you know, start going up based on your quota. I'm answering to Jacob.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so hit refresh and look at how it should load pretty slow, right?
Let me get the network tab up so we can see what's going on. We got something hanging. What
should be like 4+ seconds. That should be like the main request. Or it's not. Did I not push this? We'll see. But yeah, this is another disable cache. Let's see. Honestly, Next.js made, you know, did some hard times with the caching and stuff, because I couldn't really showcase.
So, this is some kind of a ping, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, nevertheless, let's go to, I basically planted a little flower into the /manage. So we should see this, we should see it in Sentry now.
Okay.
Let's go in Sentry. And we're gonna go to, let's try performance. And we're on the web. Yeah. Let's skip right into this one, this right here. And this is the server side Next.js.
Okay.
Let's go to sampled events here. Damn, this is too fast. It should have been like 4+ seconds. But yeah, let's go in. Let's go in and let's see what's happening. All right, we got categories and flashcards, right? So I added a little slowdown to all of these. Oh, okay, I got it. All right. This is an interesting one. I even forgot that I made it super. So it was okay for you, right? Not too shabby. Go back to the demo now. Go back to the demo. Trust me, it's worth it. We have no issues here, right? We're developers. We're pushing this to production. It's all good. Click on populate database, and, you know, give it a second, because it's using some LLMs in behind to populate a bunch of flashcards and stuff. There we go. Hit this again. Like, do 3 categories. This is creating 1 category with a bunch of flashcards, you know?
Oh, got it. Okay, so we'll do it again.
Yeah. So we are simulating that, you know, there's a user that have used the app for like a long times. They have categories, they have flashcards, you know, we're simulating data here. All right, so it should not be this fast now. Try like refreshing this page and see how long it takes to load.
This is nice and slow.
Yeah, it should be much slower now.
Oh, yeah, that's much slower.
Seconds? I know, 4 seconds.
Yeah, 4 seconds to get to like the meat of the page.
Yeah, so if we didn't actually populate everything or like do more flashcards and categories as devs, we can't really catch this issue. Because, you know, locally we'll just create a bunch of flashcards because we are in a hurry. So we'll just push them, right? But no, there is actually a slowdown. Let's go back to Sentry now. And we're gonna refresh that page. Go back to all events.
All events?
Yeah, like
Sorry,
you can
where am I going?
undo and go back to all events.
Like all
Or
transactions or
just do this now.
back here? Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go to sampled. And you should see the 4-second one, or like, there we
Here
go.
it is. We got a couple of them in
Get
here.
into it now, yeah. And now we
Okay.
see, oh, flashcards is 60. I mean, categories is like 63, but look at the flashcards.
Right.
Insane, right? Okay, so these are not crashes. If they're red, they're crashes. If they're blue, they're performance issues. So if you click on them, click on like here or here, anywhere, click on them, and you should see something interesting on the right side. Click on the trace here. Look at this one.
N+1 query. Okay.
Okay, so this is one issue that the Sentry SDK figured out. It's an N+1 query. Basically, we like give us all of the IDs, and now for each ID, give us the like the details, right? So you can click into it. You'll see that this is an issue, but go back now. This is also the actual SQL that was executed. But go back and try to zoom into those N+1 issues. Go back to the trace.
Here?
No, like back to the trace view.
Oh, even further back. Okay.
Yeah. Here, yeah. Like try to zoom into these groupings. Like
How does one zoom?
let me actually do this. It's like command plus or
Oh,
command
I see.
scroll.
These ones here. Yeah. All right. So
Yeah.
we can see tons and tons and tons of
Yeah.
these.
First of all, they're like in a waterfall. Second
Right.
of all, if you click on them and look at the query, first we see like a PJ sleep. Oh, okay, interesting. But then we see select category, select category, select category, select category, and so on, right? If we look at the code, this is gonna be in the get all flashcards. So let's go and open the code, the API. Try to go there as fast as we can because I also want to demo profiles. This is something that can be
Okay. So let's get into API,
Yeah.
and that was
source, flashcards, presentation API.
Here. Okay.
Yeah, and get all flashcards. No, we don't do any selects. Get underscore all. There we go. Right, so we have the flashcard query. We can add custom instrumentation here easily, but we're not gonna do that now because we don't have time.
Okay.
But get into the get all flashcards. This is the query here. This is CQRS, queries for reads, commands, and there we go. We have a repository.findAll here. Get into that, and what it's basically going to do is going to use the flashcard model that comes with Django. .objects.all. This is if you're a JS developer, think of this as like the driver for the database.
Okay.
Like MongoDB. So you just like give me all the flashcards, right? .objects.all. You're not writing any SQL. But there's still some issues happening. Now go into the two entity list, right? First, we're getting all of the flashcards, and then we're doing a list comprehension here, which in JavaScript means a for loop for every flashcard. Invoke this.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's the
So that's a
waterfall.
mess. Yeah.
So get into the two entity, and you're gonna see. Oh, so we gotta go back, and yeah, there's like a. This is the interface, and we gotta go to the flashcards mapper, and look at this. We are requesting a category for each flashcard. So that's the select category, select category, select category. But I know this because I worked on this project. If you didn't know this, you wanna know how to, debug this. Let's go back to Sentry now. First, you know that there's an issue. There's a waterfall issue, and then there's like a PG sleep. We don't know where the PG sleep is, right? We don't do any queries. So what we're gonna do is click on the profiles here, and we're gonna select this one, the flashcards one. All right, so here's the profile. Right, the profile is basically like tracing, but instead on every like 10 milliseconds or so, it captures a stack trace and it builds this view for you. So you can see every function that executes without necessarily manually instrumenting it, right? So let me actually grab the mouse here. These are all of the selects. You see them?
I see them
at the top. Yeah. And if we scroll down, the red stuff is from the server. Oh, we gotta zoom out. We gotta like do scroll all the way. Oh, there we go. The blue stuff is from our code.
Got it.
Go
Okay.
back up. There's a lag.
There is,
So
yeah.
I'm sorry, y'all. Yeah. So blue stuff, our code. Red stuff, Django code and stuff. So we went into the get flashcards. We get into the query, right? CQRS. We went into the repository. Then we did the model mapper interface to entity list. We did this, but I want to zoom in even further because there's one more blue span that I want to show. This one. This one says delayed execute.
Mm-hmm.
And you see where it is? It's in shared infra repository cursor wrapper. So there's a delayed execute after we call the compiler, the SQL compiler. So this is what's causing that little slowdown. If you go to this file, you'll see. Just like try cursor underscore wrapper. You don't need to like go to the whole thing. Just like command P cursor.
Oops. Cursor wrapper. There we go.
There we go. Okay, so there's that select, right? So if we delete this, we'll just say, cool, we solved that issue. But yeah, this is how we found that, you know, this is where that code is coming from, using the profiler. We didn't do any custom instrumentation. We didn't even know where it is. We used the profiler to identify it, right? And then when we saw the, let's go back to Sentry. When we saw this thing right here, above is the transaction and below is the profile.
Right.
So first we see a DB connect, right? X-axis is the time. So we first connected to the database, then we did get all the flashcards, select flashcards, yada, yada, yada. And that was the flashcards object all. And then we have a repeated of select category, select category, select category, right? And that happens in the flashcard mapper to entity. And this is the source. You see the first, I can't really hover on this, but you see the source, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you go there, we actually went there on line number 9. Let's see if that's true. Can you go to the flashcard mapper? Try searching for that. And this is the last thing because we haven't.
Was it database repository mapper?
Yeah.
Database repository mapper, line 9.
There we go. So when we are invoking the category entity, that's when we are creating these like repeated calls. So basically that is making an additional DB call, which is causing that, you know, waterfall to happen. So if we were to refactor this application, we would pull the category out. So we don't need to really nest it here or put like a category ID, and the client can get more info on the category ID. And it's just going to be one single DB call. That was the second DB span, get flashcards, the one that took all. And the waterfall is just going to be like gone, and it's going to be like infinitely faster. So this is profiling now.
It's slick. Yeah. And it's definitely one of those things that's like how to get visibility into something like this. Because, you know, these sorts of charts are really intimidating to look at. But the color coding here, knowing that like this is our code, this is system code. So we wrote this, right? And this kind of showing up as like, oh, that's a little thing that we wrote that we maybe wouldn't have thought of because it's kind of buried in the middle of all this other system code. Yeah, that's a hell of a spot, right? And then it gives us places to look.
Definitely,
so this is great. 6 minutes left. Anything else you wanted to show?
No, I mean, these are the tools that, you know, can help you debug complex applications, even like for issues that you don't know exist or issues that are caused from one space, but they erupt from a different space, you know, whack-a-mole type of situation, or even issues that are not even issues. There are no crashes. Your app is just slow. Go figure, right?
Right.
We use the profiler because in order to use the tracing, you got to know where to put the spans. Sentry automatically instruments part of your code, the thing that can be instrumented, but you can always manually instrument it. But you're not going to instrument the cursor wrapper because you don't even know that file exists, for example, right? So in those cases, if we want to really zoom in, that's when we use the profiler. And Sentry basically puts all of everything into one single trace. That was the session replay, the recording on the UI screen, the
Right.
screen itself, the slowdown, the metrics. I didn't even touch web vitals and stuff. There's a whole different side to the product itself. But yeah, and you also get the profile. So if tracing is not enough and you really want to dive in deeper to like a function level, you already have the trace. There's already a profiler on it if you configure profiling. So make sure you turn it on.
Absolutely.
And then you get into it and you solve the problem. So this is how we debug complicated applications, everyone.
Really, really good work. I mean, it's just nice to use, right? Like I like it. It still can be a little overwhelming because this is complicated stuff, right? There's a lot of UI here. There's stuff you got to learn. But in terms of actually having a path to solve something, when you start getting into code that's like outside of your team's control and so on and so forth, there's really, it's hard to imagine a way that gets easier than having something where you've sort of got this full display of here's what happened in the app, here's where the code happened, here's what the how things moved through, here's a replay of the user actually having this issue.
So rage clicking.
Oh yeah, the rage clicking is a whole other fun thing. Will that show up if I like get in here and I do a bunch of these? Is that going to show up?
It should, yeah.
Okay, so if I
see an envelope being sent, you gotta go to yeah, you gotta wait now.
Yeah, where would I look for that? Is it going to be in issues?
Should be in issues, yeah. But yeah, we also get rage clicks, and it is connected to the session replay. So if a user clicked multiple times, there we go, rage clicks and dead clicks. If they clicked multiple times on I think there needs to be an element or something like that.
Like I was clicking on nothing, and so
yeah, I don't have that in this demo, but I'm going to add it for next time. But yeah, like we can also give you rage clicks. You're going to get notified when people click on elements. I don't know, 7 times in 5 seconds. I don't know what was the formula, but there's that as well.
Yeah, that kind of like you click it, you're like, what was that? What was that?
Yeah,
and
it's
then
not working. That's the rage click. Yeah.
All right, so let me send you. You sent me a link.
Yeah.
For how people can get started. So I'm gonna throw that up on the screen here. Go in here, get sign up here. This is good for a handful of reasons. If you're thinking about trying this, sign up through this link because it shows that the stuff we're doing works, and it makes companies want to continue working with me, and Lazar gets his next promotion, all the things that we want to happen, right? So if you're thinking about doing it, that's the link for you. Let me put it up on the screen here. And then for somebody who wants to go further, where else, what resources should they hit?
Docs, definitely. Like dig into specific issues like tracing or profiling. We got a lot of pages on the docs for every framework, for everything out there.
Get into the docs. The docs are and the docs are they're linked from everywhere, right? Like we can see,
and you can also join our Discord server, because guess what, the engineers are there. So if you have an issue with the Next.js SDK, they're gonna answer.
Yep. Where does one find this Discord? Here it is, down at the bottom.
The footer.
Drop a link to that as well.
Yeah.
And then let me do another shout out to go follow Lazar on Blue Sky. And I will do another shout out to our captioner. Vanessa's been here all day doing the human captioning thing, which I very much appreciate. That's available on every episode of Learn with Jason. You can find it at the URL that's scrolling across the bottom of the page. That is made possible through the support of our sponsor. We've got Tuple. That's what we've been using all day for everybody to be drawn on the screen. And it sounds like our timing is great because it's about to get loud in the studio. So with that one,
perfect.
Lazar, any parting words before we shut this one down?
Damn. I'm bad at situations like that. I don't know. I was thinking about this whole workshop and I don't have any parting words. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, thank you all so much for hanging out. Make sure you go and check out things on the site like the schedule, because we got a lot of fun stuff coming up. Make sure you follow the show on. You can like and subscribe on YouTube. That means a lot. You can follow on Blue Sky, on LinkedIn, wherever wherever you hang out, we're probably there. So, with that being said, thank you all so much. Thank you, Lazar, for taking some time. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks for inviting me.
And from me, my beard, Lazar, and Lazar's beard. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.